Bezras Hashem, Erev Shabbos Kodesh, Parashat Reish Nastov Shirin Pei Beis. The holy Ponovitcher Rov, Rabbi Yosef Shlomo Kahaneman, he was once traveling from Bnei Brak to Haifa, and he knew he was late because he knew there's a boat arriving at the Haifa port, and there's going to be there orphans. And very often people would come to pick up these orphans. And not everyone that were picking up these orphans who survived the Second World War, they were without family, and people would come and pick them up. But very often it was people who were not religious. People who were from the kibbutz, from the Shomer HaTzair, they would take these Yosoimim, Hashem Yirachem, and take them to the irreligious kibbutz. And the Ponovitcher Rov knew the great responsibility that he had to come to the port and take the children to his Bet Yatomim that he had in Bnei Brak. That means besides for the yeshivas Ponovitch that he had as well a Beis Yosoimim where he would take care and be like a father for these children. When he arrived in the port of Haifa, he saw there was only one child. And he saw from far how these boys from the Shomer HaTzair were trying to entice the boy, telling him, come to us, we got a kibbutz, there's gardens, we got swimming pools, we got bikes, you'll have an amazing time. And the boy was standing with his suitcase and he didn't want to go to them. The minute he saw the Ponovitcher Rov approaching, he ran to the Ponovitcher Rov and he said, Rebbe, Tata, take me home. And the Ponovitcher Rov lifted up this boy to the highest heavens and he said, my dear child, I'm going to take you home. I'm going to take you to Bnei Brak. You are like my son. And the Ponovitcher Rov took the boy with his suitcase and they sat on the bus traveling back to Bnei Brak. And then the Ponovitcher Rov asked this boy, and he said to him, what did you see? What caused you that you should run to me that I should take you home? Why would the other boys from the Shomer HaTzair, they were trying to entice you with parks and bikes, and you didn't want to go to them? What made you come to me? So the boy said, well, I'll tell you why. Because before by the war, when the Nazis entered our village, when the Nazis entered, they would come with such a noise. The whole village would shake from the noise of the soldiers entering, the jeeps, the tanks. They came into our village. And at that time, I was a boy in Cheder. And the Melamed, when he heard this noise, he locked the door and he turned to us. Now generally this Melamed was always a quiet man, but this time he shouted over the noise and he said, my dear children, I don't know who from you will survive this war, and I don't know where you will survive the war, but one thing I want to tell you is, look at my face, because when you will learn Torah, only learn Torah from somebody who has my image. Somebody who looks like me, you shall learn Torah from. And then he took himself like this, and he put his face against each child, and he said, look at my face, because only learn Torah from somebody who has a face like mine. So when I arrived at the port of Haifa, and I see those boys, they didn't have the image of my Rebbe. But when I saw you, the Ponovitcher Rov, I saw the image of my Rebbe. I remembered what my Rebbe said. Only learn Torah from somebody who has an image like my image. We see from this amazing story the chokhmah, the wisdom a man can have. Within a few seconds, what do you tell children? How will they survive? How will they survive spiritually? You know how they will survive spiritually? By telling them to continue the link of Torah only by somebody who looks like me. And that the chokhmah was, when this boy arrived in the port of Jaffa, he saw these boys, said, they don't look like my Rebbe. He looks like my Rebbe. And the great chokhmah of that Melamed was shown to the Ponovitcher Rov, how you saved this boy from going to irreligious kibbutz. Instead, he went to the Ponovitcher Rov and had the whole future ahead of him. But it wasn't only that melamed, it was as well the melamed of all of Am Yisrael, the Heilige Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu says in this week's parasha, Re'ei Onoichi, explains the Ohr HaChaim HaKodesh. What Moshe Rabbeinu is saying, Re'ei Onoichi, look at me. You know what it means? Look at me, says Moshe Rabbeinu, because each one of you can reach the darga of Moshe Rabbeinu. Every Jew can become a Moshe Rabbeinu, and that's why he says, Re'ei Onoichi, the only Moshe Rabbeinu brought Torah from Shemayim. Moshe Rabbeinu stood on Har Sinai. Moshe Rabbeinu did 10 Makkahs. You know, you can as well be a Moshe Rabbeinu. Says Ohr HaChaim HaKodesh, Od yirtze b'mayim Re'ei Onoichi. When Moshe Rabbeinu is trying to be meramez, is what the Rambam says in Hilchos Tshuva Perek Hey. Yochol Odom lases atzmoi k'Moshe Rabbeinu. Every person can be like Moshe Rabbeinu, and therefore you have to have she'ifos. A person always has to think, how can I be so great? How can I improve myself to become on such a level of Moshe Rabbeinu? This is called aspirations, she'ifos. And this is a time when we have to have she'ifos, because Parashat Re'ei as well as Merumas, Re'ei stands for Reish Aleph Hey, Re'ei Elul Hegia. It's a time when we come back to our she'ifos and we start thinking, how can I become better? But you know what we have to have is she'ifos of Moshe Rabbeinu. I can become so much more. I'll be able to improve myself when you have she'ifos. And just to finish, this is the idea. When a person takes a bus, it's to go to a certain destination. You take a bus from Bnei Brak to reach Yerushalayim. From Bnei Brak to go to Beersheva, right? You take a bus to reach a certain destination. But sometimes a person takes a bus, the bus travels around town and comes back to the same place you got on. What bus is that? This is called the tourist bus. The tourist bus, you go on, in London they got such a bus, it's a double-decker bus. The top floor, there's no roof, and there's a guide standing in the front with a microphone, and he starts showing you the journey. See this is the River Thames. Beautiful river, big river. On the other side, this is the London Eye. And this is Buckingham Palace. Big Ben, and people are taking pictures and selfies, and people are showing all the big tourist points of London. But then he comes back at the same point where he started. Moirav Raboisai, some people the following year, Tov Shin Pei Gimel, is like a tourist bus. They reach Sukkot. This is Sukkot. They take pictures and videos and selfies and Hanukkah, Purim, Pesach. It's all an experience. Tourist points, and then he come back at the same year, Tov Shin Pei Dalet, the same place where he got on. But if we have a destination, if we live with she'ifos, if we want to go further, then this is a time where we prepare ourselves and we realize we're going to enter Tov Shin Pei Dalet not as a tourist bus, but as a place to take us to destinations. It's going to take us to a spiritual destination. We're going to, Be'ez Hashem, have she'ifos. And the Ohr HaChaim HaKodesh says, Re'ei Onoichi, she'ifos to reach dargos levels of Moshe Rabbeinu. When we live like this, we'll be Zoicha Be'ez Hashem. Hashona Bo Leinu L'Toiva will take us far, far with a plan, with a tochnit. Be'ez Hashem Yisburach Shel Kulam. Shabbos, Shulam Emevoirach, and no gets.